Well, the essential point of classical individualism is to differentiate the individualism of that underlies modern libertarianism from the Hobbesian individualism, which is not based on human nature but on nominalism. And I wanted to say that if you understand human beings as individuals who need to make a life for themselves, that implies a form of almost Aristotelian individualism, the individualism that entrusts human beings with both the capacity and the responsibility to live a life of moral excellence. And that requires individualism because without some matter of ultimate personal authority in your life, you cannot be judged to be either good or bad. You would just be a part of a mob. So it remains individualistic, but it's more humanized than what we've had and what the left usually calls atomism. So I wanted to defend anti-atomistic individualism. That's why it's called classical individualism. And it works out a number of themes that I think needed to be dealt with. For example, I wanted to work out to a much greater detail than anybody else has this notion that evasion is the source of evil, that the failure to make the most of your capacity to be a thinking agent, the one area where you're truly free, where you can initiate action, is the source of most of our problems. That even the most grievous mistakes or errors or evils that human beings do can ultimately be traced to their failure to pay attention. And in fact, in my more casual way, when I talk about the foundations of morality, I always say, pay attention, and the rest will follow. And I wanted to work this out in a more formal way, and I have a chapter on that. And I have chapters on a number of other things in that book. For example, one of the chapters deals with how the American system of constitutional republicanism with its foundation of individual rights is most conducive to multiculturalism. It's most conducive to allowing a lot of people with different practices and habits to coexist in peace because of property rights, because of the sanctity of contracts and so on, and that this is individualistic. I mean, one of the things that you can expect from a being such as a human being with a very strong core of individuality in his or her nature is that they would do many different things. They would discover different ways of living, different artistic styles, different religions, for example. And right or wrong, it makes sense of a creature for whom individuality is central that these things would develop. It would amount to fetishism to someone like Marx. It would be some sort of a trivial pursuit for someone to be a golfer versus someone else to be a bowler, But for an individualist, these could very well be part of an individual's nature, And I wanted to work these things out and show that all the varieties that we find, for example, in the marketplace, make sense because of the great diversity of human individuality and how we find all of these things that we pursue being well served by the market, which pays attention to these things. I also made some criticism. For example, one of the problems that I see with mass advertising is that it rejects individualism. It makes it look like everybody should have the same diet, everybody should have the same kind of tie, or so on and so on. So there are certain kinds of things that I don't necessarily champion about the market system, or libertarianism, if you wish. So there is that. And in defending libertarianism, I am doing a lot of attempted, defending of the anti-egalitarian stance of libertarianism, which is a book that by the way, I have a little book coming out just very soon called Equality, Oh So Misunderstood, arguing that this whole idea that we need to have people be equal in their achievements, their wealth, their intelligence, their health care, and all that is totally misconceived. It does not fit human nature. And I made that point in the previous books as well. I have never hidden the fact that I've repeated myself in some of my books. As the books come out, there are criticisms of it in reviews, in just discussions with colleagues and so on. And obviously, they prompt me to think up ways of dealing with these objections, maybe even change my mind a little now and then, here and there, And so I have never found it convenient to set aside my computer, shut it down, and go to sleep. Well, one of the things that I have always been very interested in ever since I've studied Plato's Republic is how a idealistic view of politics has skewed the standards of an adequate theory of justice. That most people think who enter into this field is that you have to lay out some sort of necessary conditions for a just society. And I wanted to pay attention to human nature again and say, look, it is unreasonable for us to think that anybody, including people in a large human community like the United States or Australia or Germany or so on, is going to always be savvy about political reality, about what is necessary to do in order to do it right in the political realm. What are the best answers in response to the questions about human community living? You can do what is most up to date. You can achieve what is most perhaps informed, but there's always going to be next week a new set of problems. So you will never reach the end of the day, as that expression. At the end of the day, people say. There's no end of the day, because as soon as the end of the day is there, there's another day. And most of these issues never take a rest. We always have to be vigilant. I think that remark about the price of liberty being eternal vigilance is very prescient, even if they didn't mean it to imply to this. But theories can never be complete because there's another day during which somebody could come up with just a little additional information that requires modifying the theory. And for that reason, you could never have a political theory that deals with all the problems forever. Well, you can put it to rest, And that's what I mean by a non-utopian vision. It does not aspire to settle everything forever. It recognizes that theories are open-ended, including in politics. Maybe there are some areas where theories are not. Maybe in metaphysics they're not open-ended. But even there, you can't deny the possibility that tomorrow some human being, having the ingenuity and the creativity that most of us do have, as a potential at least, will raise issues to which new answers will have to be forged. New good answers. And in that sense, I think that you have to recognize that a good, solid theory of justice like libertarianism has to be non-utopian. It must eschew promising too much, as settling everything. And I think if this is remembered, then a lot of stuff, including in the defense of a political system like libertarianism or any other for that matter, can be laid aside. All those what-if questions that people come up and try to defeat your system. Well, what if this? Maybe the answer is we'll have to wait when it comes up, and then use our minds to solve the problem. I love an expression that human beings often show, and that happens when somebody is challenged to tell you what he's going to do in a situation that is unexpected, and he says, well, I'll think of something. And people don't pay attention to that remark. That's a very, very important and insightful remark. I don't know now. I don't have a ready-made answer, but I know that I am the sort of thing that can come up with an answer when I put my mind to it. And I think that could be applied also to political theories, to law, to ethics, and so on. Instead of worrying about the trolley hitting 5 people versus one fat person, like these stupid ethical questions that some of these modern ethicists put on record, I'd say, I'll think of something to do. It'll probably be the best answer that we can come up with. I don't know right now what it will be. So that's the spirit in which that book was written.